Welcome to Paul Revere Radio here in sunny Southwest Florida, where only a U.S. representative can cause snow in our forecast. Guys, none of us want to talk about this anymore. We've seen it. We've heard it. We're sick of talking about it, but we're obligated to at this point.
Well, we're in the same district.
Yeah, he's our representative, and if you don't know who we're talking about, not sure what planet you live on. But no, we're talking about Trey Radel, and who was...
Congressman Trey Radel.
Yeah, Congressman Trey Radel. Still, not sure why, but still. Who got nabbed for cocaine. Which on one hand, I guess it's kind of... It proves one thing. Our congressman still is not completely disconnected from reality. I mean, he still goes and picks up his own coke.
In bad neighborhoods.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's still... Never mind. So, not to put you on the spot, but I know you probably know the most, seeing as you know Trey, and I know there's some things you can't say, but what's your view on this, Chris?
Well, it's a subject that, I really don't even want to talk about today, but it is the elephant in the room. It's the topic of the week, not just here in Southwest Florida, but all over the country.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make this a long deal for me. I'm glad that Trey is in treatment, getting help for a problem that he has, and hopefully does come out a better person as he wants to and plans to. On the political side of it, it's difficult. It's a difficult decision to decide whether or not he should stay in office. He should resign. I think at this point, he's made the decision that he wants to continue in office, so wants to try and continue to serve Southwest Florida, and make a difference.
But let me ask you a question, Chris. Do you think he's going to be an effective congressman here on out? And he's not stepping down.
I guess that remains to be seen. I think the decision at this point is up to him. He's got a term to fulfill. He's not going to miss many votes in D.C.
They're on recess.
They will be December 13th, and then he fully plans, according to his statements, to be back on January 7th when session resumes. On the flip side of that, if there was to be a resignation, it would create a situation for a special election. The governor would have to call for a primary for the race.
But that's going to be so close to the primary anyway.
Exactly, and then a general election. So the amount of time that the district would be without representation, if Trey chose to resign, would actually be worse for the district overall, because we would have no representation in D.C., no vote being cast on our behalf at all. And not just that, but the duties that his office are allowed to perform in the event of a vacancy, through resignation, death, whatever the case may be, are very limited, and they're to be nonpartisan, and their role becomes very limited, and that also hurts constituents in Southwest Florida.
But I think at the same time, everyone can understand what you're saying, but then they all start saying the principle behind it all. People are going to say it's a stain on the community. It's a stain on Southwest Florida in our district, and this is what I hear from everybody. Mm-hmm. And they all say because of what he did, to do the right thing and to step down. And I hear it from elected officials to constituents to young people to everyone in the area. And I've gotten to know Trey over the years, and I think he's an outstanding human being. And at the same time, I always go reflect back on my teachings growing up in the church, and it's like he was without sin, cast the first stone. And I understand what he did, and he represents the community, but I always think about too the double standard. The double standard is like, would Republicans would go after a Democrat if a Democrat had done something like this, and a Democrat wouldn't step down, and a Democrat would get reelected. But
not just that. We've got a Democrat in Congress right now. We've got Patrick Kennedy up there, who also went through a substance abuse problem. He's continued to serve. Now, true, he's a Kennedy, so that carries with it a whole nother dynamic, and he's a Democrat. But
Well, let me put
he's
in
still serving.
my 2 cents, because quite honestly, like I said, I'm sick of talking about this. And guys, I know we all three got loads of phone calls, so my take's a little different than y'all's, as everybody I'm sure comes to understand. It has nothing for me. It has nothing to do with the drug problem. I've made no bones about telling people I'm anti-drug war, and I've actually gotten a whole lot of criticism about that lately, even though if my line of thinking prevailed, Trey wouldn't be in this predicament. But when it comes down to it, it's a matter of if you're going to stand on principle, he should step down. And not only that, he should step down for himself and for his family. You can't tell me that the guy's going to be able to handle his responsibilities in Congress, his responsibilities to the public, his responsibilities to the family, and still recover. That's too much for one person.
There's been many times I think the last time we did a show together, we ended up talking about the drug issue, and we got pretty heated about it.
Right.
And before all this hit the fan, and we always said, we're going to come back to this. Let's talk about the drug issue in this country. And this really basically, this is right in our face and right in our back. This is right in our backyard. So, granted, Matt, you said in the past that, let's open up drugs to everybody, right? And you have a whole different take on it than I would take on it. But if you want to, you can.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say, guys, if you haven't figured it out yet, you'll have to excuse Ricky. He's been
I'm a little under the weather. Sorry about that.
So don't think he's not into the conversation. He's actually muscling through, and I'm quite proud. So my take on the drug war, I'll restate again. It's quite simple. The obvious example would be Portugal, who basically legalized everything and then became, within a few years, the lowest per capita, the lowest users of drugs in the world. Also, they saved so much money on incarceration and trying to find the drug dealers and all that. It also gets rid of the drug violence, because you don't have people, you don't have gangs shooting each other up over alcohol anymore, because it's no longer prohibited.
It's legal now.
It's legal now.
Well, after Prohibition. But as soon as we in 1930, as soon as we got rid of alcohol prohibition, we brought in the drug prohibition, which started the drug war, and it's killed far more people than the drugs ever would. And I would go as far to say that the drug war is one of the main pushers of drugs, because the fact that it's illegal puts it in demand, drives up the price, brings in the gang violence. I've heard all the arguments. I have not heard one that I can sit down and say, that's a good reason to keep drugs illegal. What do you think about, Chris?
Honestly, it comes down to a personal issue. Do you have the right to do what you want to your own body? Now, I don't use drugs. I don't like drugs, and I don't care to be around people that use drugs. But I don't think it's my right to tell you can't do something to your own body.
Some of the statistics you pointed out, just I could point out for every statistic you point out, I can provide one that's just the opposite. I've got one here by Family Research Council that shows that legalization does not drive the crime rate down. That it doesn't make more economic sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, sure it does. Why at that point when they legalized alcohol, did the crime rate around alcohol plummet? There's statistics. I've got the statistics right here. These are
I'm concerned,
each one footnoted with an example and a study.
By history. I'm sorry.
Well, you were mentioning statistics.
No,
they're no more accurate than these. So
this is a debate.
This shows for every point you brought up, this shows an opposite one. So you can debate the issue back and forth, and there's I don't think any right or wrong answer. I don't believe that drugs should be legalized, and would never support that. But
okay,
to get back on the topic, of Trey and whether he should resign or should he stay on.
Dang it! I was hoping to get off that.
And we will quickly, because I don't want to beat that topic up. But I think he has to do what he believes is best for him, his constituents, his family. And
well, let's face it.
If that's to remain in office, then fine. There'll be an election soon enough.
Let's face it, Chris. His constituents, they voted for him in this area, and whether we want to believe it or not, I mean, he's the one that caused this situation to happen. And I think it should go to an election. I mean, if the people don't want him there anymore, they vote him out.
Well, it's not only that. Like I said, it comes down to, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest deal here is him and his family.
Right.
He does not have.
But that's his own choice too.
That's exactly right.
That's right. That's why I'm not saying he has to resign. I'm saying he should for his own good.
But that's not our decision to make. That's his.
But now, also, I will say that there is this thing has been going around the news, and it's absolutely true. If you're going to vote for, drug testing of people, then you need to not be a hypocrite.
Basically, what he did was that he, if you're looking for food stamps or if you're looking for some kind of government handout, it's a requirement that you go through testing, a drug testing, to make sure you get any benefits from the government. And Trey was in favor of that.
Right.
And so now everyone's looking at it and going, wow, he voted for, testing for benefits, and yet he's out there looking for looking for his next fix. So
yeah, I mean there's no doubt that he made some bad choices and some bad decisions, and he was the first to admit that, in his conferences, his statements, and now I think it's up to him to make the decision on what he ultimately is going to do when he finishes his treatment.
Well,
and,
go ahead.
There'll be an election in a year, less than a year from now. I think.
Now, talking about the election.
Personally,
yeah.
I think if he wants to stay, it actually better serves our district because we will have representation, we will have a vote in D.C., and we will have a functioning congressional office that isn't limited.
Well, another thing to mention too is that the election's less than a year away, like Chris just said. But at the same time, I've heard from many other sources that there's already names popping up and serious challengers. I mean, people. At this point, I've had people say, "Oh gosh, he's a sitting incumbent already. He's not going to be beatable." Well, I mean, now I'm getting some serious names going out there, like Elizabeth Benequisto. I've heard maybe Paige Kriegel, Chauncey Goss. A lot of these people that ran against him last year, and it's going to be a whole circus, I think, next year. And what's going to happen is that he's going to get treatment. He's going to come out of treatment, and it's going to be in the national news again. It's always going to be in the news, and it's going to be in the national headlights. And the thing is that it's going to be a real bad stain from here on out until the election, from time to time again. Like the Today Show was just here not even a few days ago, and it's on Colbert, it's on ABC, it's international news, and it also gives a bad representation to the Tea Party because he was a Tea Party guy, and the liberals were always looking for that one person that they can label as the downfall for the Tea Party. And it's pretty sad because it's in our own backyard. And I mean, I like Trey, don't get me wrong, I like him, and I just don't know where to lean on this, because on the one hand, I think he's a great guy, and on the other hand, I'm just like, wow, I mean, look what it's doing to our area throughout the country.
Well, and we can overanalyze it all day long, but
right.
But ultimately, what happened. The damage is done as far as reputation and.
But do you think he's going to have some serious opposition coming?
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt. I think it went from a slam dunk easy win for Trey. Sorry to any Democrat.
He was a rising star.
Yeah, sorry to any Democrat that may have been in the race, but this was an easy win for Trey.
I mean, he was polled as bigger than Marco Rubio in the area, and now
Well, that's a good thing. Never mind.
Yeah,
okay.
It's going to be a primary situation.
Everyone knows in the national media they're always looking for that rising star that crashes.
Yeah,
and this is just their way.
Well, and this is why I don't like to talk about it. And it's not that I'm afraid of the subject. Obviously, I've put my opinion out there, and everybody knows I'm not ashamed to say where I stand. But I'm just so sick of people jumping on people like piranhas. Now, I'm going to say
that's
this.
That's how the media works.
Chris, I know you've got some things. Why don't you line up the next topic that you want to talk about real quick, well, I put a couple things out there real quick. You know, we want to jump on people like Piranhas, and then you got two types of people out there. You got people that are going real easy on him, and then you got people that are jumping down his throat. And all I'm going to say is, the last we're going to say about it is, I hope that you will be the same exact way when it's somebody sitting on the opposite side of the aisle next time. Okay? Don't be a hypocrite. Now, other than that, I want to let you guys know that we are, if you were watching last week, you noticed we had some issues with the connection. I cannot promise that is fixed. That is a Comcast corporate deal. I've looked into it. There's nothing I can do. I'm hoping that it holds together for us. If not, just hang with us, because if we go down, we'll be back up in just a couple seconds.
And I think, Matt, right? you were on hold with Comcast from last Saturday till just a few minutes ago.
No, I might as well have been, but no, I send emails, so I don't. So yeah, so far so good. Hopefully it stays that way. The first. And
Kara just said that our bandwidth is strong.
Yeah,
so
like but it was for the first 20 minutes last week too. So we're not out of the woods until we stop the broadcast.
Cool.
So hopefully it holds together. Oh, also one more programming note, guys. If you saw on the Facebook page, I've been having issues pulling my what's left of my hair out with the podcast. But now we've got it up. We've got it running strong. We're waiting on approval from Apple to be in the iTunes directory.
That's awesome.
We are also Microsoft has already approved us. We're in the Windows 8 directory. So if you run Windows, you can pick it up from Microsoft's podcast directory. We're also in several others. So if you miss a show, grab the podcast. That's the audio podcast. Obviously, you got the YouTube.
So what you're saying, I mean, if I had an Android phone, or if I have an Apple phone at some point down the road, and I can look into the Apple Store or the Android Store, and I can just type in Paul Revere Radio, and
Android doesn't have its own store. That's a whole bunch of stores that I'm working on getting into all of those. That takes time. The Apple Store
iTunes.
We're not in yet.
What about the iTunes?
That's what I'm talking about. The iTunes Store we're not in yet.
All right.
We are up for review. It takes up to 14 days. So, but we are up for review.
That's so funny. You said that we got approved by Microsoft, who's got great connections with government, and then Apple.
Well, Apple's got good connection with government too. Don't kid yourself.
They all have good connections with government.
No, I mean, guys, when it comes down to it with podcasts and stuff, it's really hard for them to not tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, or not to let you in. We're not going to be, we're not that far gone yet, although we're getting close. But so to let you guys know, we're growing by leaps and bounds in the technology field, which is amazing. If you saw this studio, you would say, "How the hell are you doing this?" But we've got it up and running. We're doing well. So with that,
do you want to talk a little bit about our reach as far as what we've been doing with the website or anything like that?
No, not yet. I've got some surprises coming, but I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to reveal them just yet.
All right.
So,
Christmas presents?
Yeah.
Actually, right before Christmas, we're going to announce one of them. So go ahead and let's breach our next topic and get off the dead horse.
Yeah, absolutely. And where are we going? We going to go nuclear option, or do we
let's go into the nuclear option. I like that one.
It sounds so cool. I mean, it's such a catchy title.
Let's just kill all law.
Now, first of all, to the viewers that don't know what a nuclear option is, can you?
Go ahead, Matt. It sounds catchy. Nuclear option basically is the ability for the minority party to filibuster in the House or the Senate. Now, unless I'm mistaken, now I'll grant you I've been extremely busy, so I've been a little behind. I had to play catch up the last couple of days, but I think it's just the Senate that this is happening in, right?
It's just the Senate, and they're they're the only ones that had a filibuster option. Yeah. The House doesn't have that option.
See, I mean, I'm not perfect. There's things that I screw up, but
it used to be a 60% majority or something, and now it's 51. 61 votes.
60. It was 60 votes.
It's a simple majority vote now to kill this. Now, if you remember, back in 2005, the Republicans were wanting to do this, and the Democrats were all, had bees in their bonnet about it. And now the Democrats are doing it. Now, I actually sided with the Democrats back in 2005. I didn't know you guys then. So I don't know where you stood, but, it takes more than a simple majority to change the foundation of our Senate. Okay? And the majority party does not get to steamroll the minority. That goes against everything this country was founded on.
Well, and that's just it, Matt. This was something that had been in place since Thomas Jefferson, as far as rules of Senate.
Yeah.
That Harry Reid has just obliterated. Now,
Do you think
he
the
says,
public
well,
really
it's only-
understands that and understands the magnitude
I
of
think
what's going
I think
on?
our
No,
audience
I don't.
understands more than the general public.
There's no question we have a pretty smart, tuned-in, plugged-in audience, but and the general public doesn't quite fit in there. Hell, they probably don't even know who the vice president is if you ask 8 out of 10 people. But this is a rule that's been around since Thomas Jefferson. Now it's gone thanks to Harry Reid and 51 other
Why
senators.
don't you do this? Go ahead and explain exactly what a filibuster is.
Okay, a filibuster. Well, and this what they did really didn't end the ability to filibuster technically. What Reid has said is that this is a procedural move that they will use only on judicial nominees, and senators had the ability or could filibuster, which means you basically speak until you can't speak anymore in order to delay or stop a vote, try and get some compromise, some level of a deal from the other side, and so that ability is now gone because what Reid has said. What he said is that this will only affect judicial nominees, but there's nothing in what passed that limits it to judicial nominees. So they could use it on anything.
So what's this mean for the Democrats and what's this mean for the Republicans?
Well, I think in the short term, what it means is that the Democrats are going to be able to load up the courts with liberal judges. They keep citing the D.C. Circuit specifically as an area where the Republicans have opposed nominations. But the Democrats have proposed nominations.
And what this really comes down to is the idea of a democracy really prevailing. We don't have a democracy. You've heard me say this several times. This is democratic rule. This is mob rule. As Benjamin Franklin said, a democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. We have a constitutional republic, and the way he, showed that was a constitutional republic was a well-armed sheep contesting the vote. So, in other words, the majority can't just steamroll the minority. There has to be equal opportunity for the points of view to get across. We're ruled by law, not by men.
Right.
So this is basically
It's
taking the underpinning out from underneath our rule of law.
And it's sour grapes by the Democrats, who really have no room for even being insulted or annoyed about filibustering on Senate judicial nominations. There have been several held up. Yes, there are several nominations held up, but just for the scoreboard, there have been 215 judicial nominees approved since Obama became president, and there have been 2 rejected. So, yeah, there's some in the middle that have been held up, but this is not a crisis. This is a manufactured crisis.
and-
Well, I've heard rumor too. I
even
mean, I don't
then-
know the source and I don't know the statistics, but I've also heard that this has been something the Republicans and Democrats, both sides, have wanted for well over almost 200 years too, to change this rule.
Well, of course
I don't think so.
The majority party is always going to want to be able to steamroll the minority. There's, they want to be able to, just force in whatever their agenda is, and that's the whole point of the filibuster is to be a block.
A lot of the articles I've been looking at through Real Clear Politics about this issue is I've been seeing that both sides have been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah, and it's true. And like I said, in 2005, the Republicans wanted to do this,
But
I stood with the Democrats on that one.
But for over 200 years, every other Senate has come to their senses and didn't push the button on this option, which is why it's called the nuclear option. It's a last resort thing.
And I honestly, I don't see a legal framework for this to actually happen.
There's been so many things that have been done in government lately that have no legal framework.
Exactly, and you guys could quote me.
Everything that
several
Obama's
times,
doing with Obamacare now is there's no legal framework.
Yeah, 90% of what the federal government does is illegal. I mean, they don't have the constitutional power to do things, do most of what they do. But my point here is that, if you want to change the Senate rules, it takes far more than a simple majority. So, this is the problem. And if we don't have that, that major block to majority rule, there's nothing. It's
Right.
comes back to what Obama's doing
Right.
now. I mean, even Forbes is calling for him to be a dictator, and in Forbes, in one article, I don't have it up. I don't even have a computer in front of me, guys. But Forbes actually called him a dictator the other day. So, but this is what's happening also in the Senate with Harry Reid trying to dictate what's going to happen with the Senate.
Well, here's what the Republicans, in my opinion, should be doing now. They should be, and they should have done this before that vote happened, but they should be saying right now, Harry Reid, careful what you wish for, because guess what? You guys in the Senate who own Obamacare, you own it, all you, are about to have your butts thrown out of office, out of the majority in the Senate in 2014.
Yeah.
So be careful what you wish for, because we're not going to if you pass this,
No.
we're not just going to take this to the judicial level. We're going to take it all the way, and we're going to rule by majority.
It's
and
funny you said that.
Yeah.
It's
The
funny
day
you
you
said
do
that
it.
real quick. It's funny you said that, and you said that Obamacare, because of what's going on, and next year we're going to more than likely win the Senate. I mean, I'm just taking a stab at that, but it kind of goes into my next article actually, and we would not have had a majority in the House without the Tea Party.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we get that, let me just finish a couple of things on this topic, and we'll jump to that. But I read a lot of articles about this in doing the show prep, but there was one that stood out as a kind of almost that makes a lot more sense than anything else I've read kind of article, and I posted it on Facebook earlier. But and I'll just give you a couple sentences from it. But one way to interpret what just happened is that the Dems are so confident they'll retain their majority in 2014 that they don't have any worry about this minority rights issue. But 6 weeks ago, they didn't have that confidence. So what changed? Well, according to this author, nothing changed. It's just the opposite. They've watched Obamacare crumble, and they've watched their poll numbers crumble.
Do you have that article up on your screen?
I do.
Can we throw it up there?
No. No, I
Okay.
didn't get a
It's not
chance to
hooked
fix
up to
his
do
computer
that.
yet.
Got it.
But what this article says, and I think they're exactly right on, and maybe we can have a little discussion on this, that the Senate Democrats now feel very likely that they're going to lose their majority in 2014. So what they're doing is basically writing off the last 2 years of Obama's presidency and trying to pack the courts with as many liberal judges as they can between now and when they're out of power. And I think that sounds a lot more realistic than them feeling so confident all of a sudden that they're going to be in the majority for another several years. That's why they did this. So I think it's a.
I think they're going to be in the
effort.
minority for quite a few years to come because
exactly.
of what's going on the last few years.
So they're going to take these last 2 years
Exactly.
and use
I
that
think you're right.
opportunity to pack as many
Right.
liberals in as they can.
But if we want to change courses here a little bit and just talk about this article, if Kara can pull this up real quick.
Yeah, and then we're going to bring up something that one of the listeners brought up.
And just bear with me for a few minutes. I'm going to paraphrase everything that's in this article, but basically the Tea Party to Mitch McConnell, you cannot win without us. And a lot's going on behind the scenes with Mitch McConnell. But the source from Breitbart News reported that on October 30th, fundraising call, Republican Crossroads, Karl Rove and Steve J. Law held with McConnell. McConnell specifically talked about Mike Lee by name, specifically talked about Ted Cruz by name, and he specifically talked about the Tea Party by name.
Now, to be fair, doesn't Mitch McConnell deny this ever happened?
No, I was just getting to that.
Okay.
Now, Mitch McConnell and Karl Rove have denied this.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course.
Now, the Washington Exclaimer earlier yesterday confirms that McConnell criticized conservative groups who supported the plan to defund Obamacare, and that he also criticized those conservatives who are now actively working to defeat him in Kentucky. The article adds that McConnell repeatedly mentioned the Senate Conservatives Fund by name. And there's also a 27-minute audio file of the call reports that McConnell did, as Breitbart News source said, talk about dealing with conservative schoolyard bullies by punching them in the nose. So, the Tea Party Express chairwoman Amy Kramer said, an attack on SCF, which is the Senate Conservative Fund, or any Tea Party organization, or Ted Cruz, or Mike Lee is an attack on us. She also said that they will continue to attack us, and I don't understand why. Harry Reid just invoked the nuclear option yesterday, what we were just talking about, and Obamacare is crumbling at the seams, and we should have them on the run. Why are we now attacking the Tea Party movement? They need to remember, she said, that John Boehner and the Republicans would not have control of the House if it wasn't for the Tea Party movement and the conservative grassroots movement. So my point is that, he's denying the things that he's saying now, and all of a sudden, because he knows that the Tea Party is angry with him beyond all means, and the whole country, who's this huge organization, the Tea Party, is now going after McConnell. So the problem consists in not just the Liberal Party, but also our own party, so.
Well, I think this is further evidence that the establishment Republicans, not all Republicans, but the establishment Republicans, they might as well be Democrats. Okay, the main problem that they have with the Tea Party is the Tea Party stands... They hold very libertarian views.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of them have a hard time admitting that because they don't, a lot of the Tea Partiers don't truly understand what the libertarians stand for. So there is a knowledge gap there. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying that they don't talk is basically what's going on here. So, and what I see here is I see the Republican establishment disenfranchising the base, which would be the Tea Party, and to their own detriment.
These are grandmas, grandpas.
Yeah,
These are people that are in the trenches, the young, the old, everybody that are basically want to bring it back to the Constitution. And we've talked about that hundreds of times before. But the thing is that when you start attacking your own constituents and your own party, and you're saying you're a bunch of kooks. You know what's going to happen is that people are going to get pissed, and they're going to start knocking on doors, making phone calls.
You know what? Eventually, they're going to get so disenfranchised that the same thing's going to happen that happened in 2012. They're not going to show up to vote, and there's not a damn thing you can do to win that fight because you've disenfranchised your base.
Right.
You can't get out the vote if you disenfranchise your base.
Well, I heard, too, that John McCain is now switching gears on the whole Obama thing, and he says, we need to defund it. And it's like, you were all calling him a wacko bird, Ted Cruz, the other day, and now all of a sudden he wants to say that we should have defunded, or along those terms. I am paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly the quote. But the thing is that McConnell and all the rest of them are all on the same page, and then when it comes to their own election, and they've got people working up to take them out, all of a sudden they're changing gears, and I didn't say those things.
Well, I want to address this real quick because I'm told here that my establishment argument is wrong because Republicans are actual conservatives. The establishment Republicans are actual conservatives. Well, here's what I have to wonder. First of all, there's so many definitions of a conservative anymore. What does it even stand for? Nobody really knows. You got so many different types of conservatives. Okay, where do you stand on principle? Do you stand with the Constitution? Do you stand with liberty? Do you stand with the Founding Fathers? Do you stand with this country and the way it was founded? Because if not, then you don't need to be in office, period. And those so-called establishment conservatives, which, I'm sorry, but they're not conservative in any way, shape, or form, they need to be run out of office. They're borderline traitors on what
I would love to hear this audio that they mentioned in this article because, obviously I'd like to hear the facts more than I would like to hear
obviously
from an article. But
even Breitbart's been a pretty damn good reliable source here. But let's just say that they got something wrong. It doesn't matter. The facts speak for themselves. The establishment Republicans have been running off the Tea Party. The Tea Party are the only part of the Republican Party anymore that's got any common sense. They're the only ones who have anything going on because liberty is popular.
And we also, if it wasn't for like we keep repeating over and over again, and the activism, how we always talk about getting involved and doing the things in your community to make a difference. And these people are the people that actually threw out the Democrats in the House and back in 2008. or no, 2010. And when you have your own party criticizing you and calling you a bunch of kooks, I mean, that right there in itself is just completely disgusting to me. And that's how I look at it.
Well, look, and even looking beyond the article and whether all the facts are straight or not, it's clear there's clearly a divide in the Republican Party between the moderates and the Tea Party or the conservatives. A couple of things on that. First
They
of
should
all,
embrace them.
First of all, I don't think that's a bad thing that there's a divide and that there's actually disagreement in the party. I think that creates for good debate and for better legislation.
Mm-hmm.
When you have one party like the Democrat Party who thinks alike and sings the same song, you don't get ideas. You get all the same nonsense with nobody thinking differently. There's no devil's advocate. There's no, well, what do you think of this? It's one idea. It's one thought, one brain. I don't know if they have a brain between them all,
They have no disagreements. Have you noticed that?
They're
they-
united. They're a united front, but that is not good. As,
Well, I know-
as they follow the Affordable Care Act over the cliff.
Right,
Exactly.
But the thing is that in the Republican Party, you have disagreements on what the Republicans are doing, and I
Right.
think that's what you're saying is healthy.
Absolutely.
But on the other side, on the Democrat side, you don't see really. I mean, rarely in a rare occurrence do you ever see Democrats disagreeing. And the thing is that I think for a better country, we need to have both sides, both parties disagreeing with each other because, like you just said, that makes great legislation.
Debate is what they do.
Exactly,
Up there.
but
So-
they're on sound bites. They say this.
Right.
If it weren't for the Republicans, this would never happen. And then the Republicans say the same thing. It's the same when you watch C-SPAN.
Yeah,
all you hear is
exactly.
the same message for 2 hours at a time. And
Exactly.
the thing is, there's no camaraderie. There's no in between, and they don't sit there and go, I kind of like that idea that's this representative had to say, and on the other side, or vice versa. But the thing is that they're always doing the same thing, and I think that's what the American people are tired of.
And here's the other thing that my second point, and that's I'm really kind of getting tired of hearing about the Tea Party this, the Tea Party that.
Well, this
the Tea
person over
Party
here
that,
just said it's ego. It's all ego.
Well, but
I think it's far more than ego.
it is. But we've heard about
Money
the
and
Tea
pride.
Party, the Tea Party, the Tea Party, the Tea Party.
Tea Party's not going away.
again. and let me just make an argument here that the Tea Party is not new. It didn't start in 2010. The Tea Party, before it was cool to be called the Tea Party, were conservative Republicans. We heard
Not according to Mitch McConnell.
Well, I wouldn't even say
we hear all this.
They were more than conservative Republicans. They were a conglomeration of conservatives and all. It was the Liberty Movement. The Tea Party was basically an extension of the Liberty Movement within the GOP, trying to bring the GOP back to its base.
And I'm going to argue that it goes back even further, and it wasn't some liberty. It was the conservative Republicans, the Tea Party's values of the Constitution,
what
of
is a
limited government.
conservative?
Well, and I'm going to get to that. Of limited government, smaller government, less regulations. These are things that if you go back and look at Reagan and Goldwater and those generation of Republicans, we hear this media bull about, Reagan couldn't be he wouldn't fit in the Tea Party today. Well, the Tea Party is exactly what he espoused. Smaller government, less regulation. That was Reagan's platform. That was Goldwater's platform. Strong defense. That's the Tea Party. The Tea Party's not new just because the media stuck a name to it.
Do you
These
really
were
believe
conservative Republicans, and Reagan would be a
Chris,
leader of it today.
Do you really believe that the grand old party, the old guard, is really for less regulation and smaller government?
No, but that was never. I mean, the
currently. I'm not, you're talking about the 80s and Reagan and all that. I'm talking about today. Do you think that today we have a party that is all about growth, or are they about shrinking the size? See, now I've heard when I listen to other shows, and there's this book, and I need to read it. It's called it's called I'll get to it in a minute. But anyway, it's about how they were talking about the fact that a lot of these legislators are creating regulations to fight regulations, and it's all orchestrated in a certain way.
You know what, Kara? Type in my phone number. They can call in. I just don't want to put it out for the aggregate just yet.
It's called Extortion. It just came to me. The book is called Extortion, and what's been really going on. And we talked about this just the other day about the things that have been going on in the 50s during the JFK time and what's going on now. And the thing is that...
We're going to get there in a few minutes.
But the thing is that a lot of things that are going on today are really not the same... are really not what needs to be done, because they were saying, like I just mentioned, the regulations where they're creating all these in the States too, where they're doing the same thing. You're creating regulations, and then you claim you're taking away regulations, the ones that you created. So the thing is it's all a system that's already pre-planned, and it's all the message out there.
Well, absolutely. There are establishment Republicans which are different than conservative
money off of
Republicans.
this stuff, yeah.
You got to remember that Reagan, Goldwater, these were guys that were
establishment.
considered the kooks of their time, the wacko birds of their time, who became great leaders, and now every Republican spouts.
Hold on, guys. We got a phone call.
Oh, let's hear the call.
All right, I do believe this is Lisa. So go ahead, Lisa. Can you hear us? I've got nothing.
All right.
While we're waiting for Lisa.
Go ahead. I'm going to figure out what's going on.
Reagan was the wacko bird of his day. Goldwater was. These are guys that now every Republican that runs for office wants to quote and spout off about Ronald Reagan and how much he's like Ronald Reagan. And yet the establishment back in that day despised him. He was the Tea Party before there was a Tea Party.
It's funny how that works, because if you look at it, like Ronald Reagan and Abraham Lincoln and all the famous presidents of the past, and of course they're going to use that image, and of course they're going to use his sound bites.
That's right.
Just to get a point across and say, I'm one of you, I'm one of them, I'm Ronald Reagan, I'm Abraham Lincoln, I believe in those core principles. Yet their voting record shows completely different. And the thing is that until people actually start reading what they pass and what they sponsor and what they co-sponsor as bills, and actually what regulations they have passed and what they've taken away, nothing is going to change in this government. I mean, they're using Ronald Reagan as a poster, and people believe it because they see it and they go, "Oh gosh, maybe in an ad they put a backdrop of Ronald Reagan and go, I'm like this guy right behind me."
And my point is that this whole Tea Party nonsense, it's not new. The Tea Party's been around for decades.
Let's try this again. I think we got Lisa on the line. Lisa, can you hear us now?
I can hear you guys. How are you?
Now we can
Hey,
hear you.
I can hear you, Lisa.
How's that?
That's great.
Okay.
I can only chat for a few minutes. I got to go show some property in a little bit.
Okay,
right.
So tell us what you're thinking.
Well, it was Matt, actually, it was you when you made that comment. It's more than ego. How is it ever more than ego? It always comes back to ego.
Well, to a point you might be right, but I think it comes back to power and prestige. Much more than ego. Money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of your ego, I think. So I think it's
and fame, and not just ego.
Well,
it's the fame and everything.
Symbol of the evil.
I don't think so. I really do. I think ego. You might have a point. It might come back to ego, but I think ultimately it's about money. It's about power, and I think it's about who's really calling the shots. I think it's more
tomato.
I think it's more about special interest and who bankrolls you.
Right.
Right. Who wants to be in charge for ego?
Well, and see, I don't. At that point, it's not ego. It's the special interest. The special interests don't want to be known.
They're known. You're talking about the lobbyists. You're talking about all that.
They're not in power and up front. That's not an ego trip.
Well,
that's power for their
it's
company.
public record. If you're talking about what money is
but how many
contributed to a
people
candidate,
read the public record?
Well, not many, but we can always, like us being an entity, we can always expose where that money is coming from and how they're actually getting ahead in the polls, or how they're going to be the pick, the establishment pick.
But
I mean, it's
you're not an entity. You're a corporation.
Yeah.
Well, according to the law, a corporation is a person, which I completely disagree with.
Oh, good gosh, yeah.
Okay.
I know.
I know. That's horrible. That's bad enough. In fact, at our founding, corporations were actually illegal. Most people don't know that, but corporations were illegal. There was good reason for that. I don't know that I would completely outlaw corporations at this point, but I would severely limit them, and I definitely would not see them.
What do you think about
as
that,
an independent
Chris?
person?
What do you believe that whole making corporations illegal?
No.
How come?
All right, Lisa. Thanks. I'm going to let you
Thanks,
go for
Lisa.
now.
All right, guys, have a good one.
You too.
too. Now, I think ego. There's a certain amount of ego, sure, in public in public office, but it takes a certain amount of ego to get out there and give speeches and take the heat and get the tough questions and be able to put yourself out there in the public eye. So, yeah, most every politician has some level of ego. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, honestly, you have to have a huge ego. I mean, what kind of person without a huge ego is going to say, you know what, I am more qualified than anyone else in this country to lead the country?
That's
there
one
has
thing.
To be a huge
that's one
ego.
thing that bothers me about politics, and that's probably one of the reasons why I get involved in it, is because I think that people that are running for office, for one, do it for ego, and two, to build their career, three, to be famous, and four, to really think that they can actually do something is almost like a falsehood to me. Sometimes, not all of them, but then there's the ones that I think that get into it because they feel it's their calling. And they get in there because they feel that nothing's being done.
Rand Paul, Ted Cruz,
those
Mike Lee.
people.
I
Those
think you have to
people.
have a certain amount of ego, but I don't think most
I don't think
politicians
those-
run for ego.
Well,
there are certain.
everyone's
there are
got here's the
certain-
thing. Everyone's got ego.
Exactly. There's a
Everyone.
percentage certainly that they run just so they can hear their name and be treated like royalty. But that I don't think is the majority of them. I mean, some get corrupted once they're up there. Some, don't do the right thing. But I don't think most people get into the game of politics
To build a career?
for ego. They get in to try and do the right thing.
Do you
and then
think
they
they
lose
really
their way
try to do that?
along the way?
Not
yeah,
all of them.
I think the majority do. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, there's a few people out there that have ego. I'd say, if we saw Lisa on the phone, I'd say she's one of them. I would say myself, and if I get angry and if I see a candidate that's not doing the right thing, I'm going to call him out. And the thing is that we need more people that, are not afraid to confront these people.
Well, and that's our jobs as
But they treat them
as
like they're
constituents,
celebrities.
as voters, as residents, as citizens. That's our job to do that.
Yeah, but the thing
So
is that a
absolutely.
majority of the public treats these elected officials as celebrities.
Right.
So until we get over that mindset too, that's just never going to change.
Great.
I guess that's Lisa. So, Lisa, we'll go ahead and say for everybody, guys, our normal listeners that like to get in the chat all the time, if you would like, you're obviously not required to. If you would like, you can actually go to Ustream and sign up for an account, and you can have a recognizable username, not just a string of numbers.
Or give us a call.
And
or
the,
give us a call.
and
Yeah,
the
phone
N-
number's up there.
The NSA already knows who you are, so don't be afraid to put your name up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, but
just don't give us your social and your date
the
of birth. your
Ustream
maiden
Ustream
name.
channel is Paul Revere Radio Live if you choose to do that. Okay? So back to what we were saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I think we've kind of beat this dead horse for a little while. I want to move on to something here that really, really troubled me. And if you don't know it, yesterday was the 50th anniversary of the JFK assassination. Now, I'm not going to get into all the theories and all that. If you know me, you know where I stand, and that's fine. But we're going to play a video here in a minute, and I'm not going to play the audio. It's on wearechange.org, their front page, if you want to go hear the audio. The reason I'm not going to play the audio is because obviously when people start getting pushed and shoved and hit, they start saying things that we don't want to put across the feed. So basically what happened was for 49 years, the people that agreed with the official story of JFK and the people that disagreed lived in harmony at the JFK memorial ceremony that they have every year in Dallas. And this year was a little different. For the 50th anniversary, the mayor and several other parties decided that they were going to restrict the attendance to 5,000 people within I believe it was a 5-block radius. And they actually repaved the street to cover up the X that they marked the spot of exactly where he was shot. They put in, and they called it a rapid response team. I actually know a couple people that were there for this, so I got a little inside details. They put up what they called a rapid response team, is what my friend that actually talked to the pavers said, to get rid of the X and the bullet marks on the curb is the word I'm looking for, to prepare and make it look nice for Joe Biden to show up. So what they did is they said 5,000 people are going to be here, but we don't want anybody that disagrees. So, guys, I don't care where you stand on this issue. I don't care if you agree with the government. I don't care if you don't. It's a free speech issue, and a lot of people agreed with me, and a lot of people showed up. Thousands of people showed up to stand at the barricades and protest the idea that they could not go in and protest. Okay? Again, it was peaceful all along, but they decided to run them out this time. So these thousands of people show up, and the mayor decides, okay, well, you know what? When it's all said and done, then you can go in after the ceremony. They stood around during the ceremony protesting at the barricades. Everything was fine. Police were there. The local, Dallas police were there. Everybody was friendly. After the ceremony was over, the police opened the barricades to let people in, and they were met with the sheriff's department, and they were met with DHS. They did not tell them to disperse. They simply did this. Kara, go ahead and roll the video. And again, there's no audio on this, but take a look at this. It's coming up here in just a minute. You're going to see one guy right there, standing there, grabbed by the cop and shoved back, trying to get loose. And when he gets loose, he doesn't fight back. He backs away. There's no violence here by the protesters. Every bit of this violence, and again, I have this from people that were there, every bit of the violence was from the police. They were not told to disperse. There was no legal order given. They just came in and steamrolled them. I was also told that people were actually punched by cops. And obviously the anger flew and the people were, swearing, and on both sides, not just the protesters, but the cops were as well. So I wanted to get some people's take, not only you guys, but the listeners here. If you don't call this a police state, I don't know what it is. And Kara, you can go ahead and kill that. That's a long video. So I want to find out, at what point do we stand up? Now, I fully side with the protesters here. This is a free speech issue. This is a First Amendment issue. This was a public area that they barricaded. They would not allow anyone in there that was not. Basically, they had to get a background check to get a ticket to go in. Okay, what do you guys
had to go
think?
through a background check?
Basically, from what I understand, they were denying tickets if they found out that in some point in your life that you disagreed with the official story. The line was that they did not want anyone there to, go against the official story. Now, again, that's not the part that I want to talk about.
Oh, you're
it's
talking about the organizations that were protesting, and they didn't want them there if they were.
No, they didn't let people in. One of the guys that was not allowed in was actually there the day that JFK was assassinated, and he was actually hit by a fragment of a ricochet in the face. So, and they would not let him in. Okay. Now, I don't want to talk about the. What was that? I don't know. Some kind of noise came across. Sorry, guys. Distractions. I don't. Squirrel. No.
Shiny object.
Is
right
it the
over there.
chip? Is it the chip they put in?
I don't have a hat on.
Oh, okay.
So no. No. I don't want to talk about the whether he was shot by Oswald or not. That you can. There's plenty of books and research. You can go figure that out for yourself. That's not why I bring this up. I bring this up solely for the fact that this is a free speech issue, and when people wanted to exercise their First Amendment right, they were met with riot police.
Well, I think, normally I'm the first person to step up and defend the police in a lot of these situations and say, hey, we need to know all the information. We need to know everything that happened before we can be so quick to judge them. But I think in this case, it's pretty clear that they were just flat out wrong, and what they did was an infringement on individual rights and constitutional rights, and it was absolutely a bad move on the part of the Dallas PD.
What do you think there?
No, I agree. I mean, at some point down the road, I think that we're becoming more and more, like you say, more of a nanny state. And what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to stand up to the police? Are we supposed to make our elected officials responsible?
Absolutely.
What are we supposed to do? And you know, in many cases, I haven't seen anything like that locally, but I mean, this is the 50th anniversary of the JFK assassination, and I think people have a right to, you know, pay their respects and be on location.
Yes, thank you for that. I couldn't remember his name. Thanks, Brian. James Tegg is the name of the man that was actually hit by a bullet.
Okay.
A bullet fragment, from what I understand.
You know, I'll say this. I'll get a little philosophical here. You know, freedom isn't always pretty, and it's not always easy, and you know, it doesn't always conform.
You gotta fight for it. It's not always free.
Doesn't always conform and fit into a nice, neat little box. And just because you don't like my freedom doesn't take away my right to have it. And,
Right.
and that's what happened here. And it's just wrong.
And you know what? I'm not a litigious person. I've never sued anyone in my life. If I was there, I would sue the pants off not only the police department and the DHS, the sheriff's department, but I would sue the pants off every single cop that touched me. Because at that point, that's the only recourse you have. Obviously, you don't want to cause violence, but a legal lawsuit is definitely called for in this instance.
I don't even see that.
And again,
well, and that's the thing, you know.
That stuff is never exposed.
And again,
Never
we have
is.
a complacent media. Where's the media? Where's the reporting?
On both sides,
Where's
on
the
all the
coverage?
networks. I mean, that should have
Exactly.
been.
Well,
that should have been out there.
I was also told that the media was basically they were there. They were actually, most of the media was not allowed in either. They were allowed into a certain places, but I was told by my friend who doesn't want me to name him, but that basically the media would be filming other things, and when protesters would come around, they would literally turn off their cameras. They did not want to show the protest. Okay, so
Hey, if it had been a Tea Party rally, they'd had those cameras rolling.
I don't know about that. They tend to downplay the Tea Party quite a bit too.
Oh
Well,
no,
the
they'd
thing
have showed the smallest number that they could possibly get into a camera shot and
Well,
find
yeah.
someone peeing on a bush or something to make sure they broadcast it.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is that the media, though, I think they're always trying to narrate their own version to what the country's going through, and if it doesn't fit their narrative, they're just not going to put it in there. And this is a prime example of that. Although it should be honest reporting and telling things that are going on in this country, and especially in an event like such as the 50th anniversary of the JFK assassination, they should be out there telling the truth. And at the same time, if it's true that they're turning off their cameras, then we have a bigger problem than people seem to realize.
Well, I've also been told that that a certain group was out there, and my hat's off to you, that not only did they go as far as to do everything they could to orchestrate the thousands of people to show up, they also handed out thousands of flyers, brought hundreds of signs for people to hold, and also, from what I understand, I don't know this to be fact, but I've been told, but from what I understand, they also set up a micro FM pirate station to broadcast for the 3 days. Everything that was going on that they could get on their phones and everything, and pipe into the antenna to cover the entire city of Dallas so no one would be left out. And my hat's off to you folks. At some point, illegal laws need not be followed.
Where did you take the last 3 days off work?
No, I did not. No, I did not. I was right here. If I was there, I would have no problem taking credit
Dallas
for
is
it.
really not all that far away.
No, that's exactly. It's a quick flight out. Southwest Airlines.
It was not me. It was. I'll go ahead and tell you that site that I like so much. It was that InfoWars site that did that. So, yeah. My hat is off to you guys. Keep up the fight, because people like you are the only thing standing between us and the total destruction of the Republic. So,
Boom.
keep it up. Keep it up. Because, again, you know what? Like I said, guys, at a certain point, if you follow an illegal law, if you don't challenge an illegal law, then your rights have been stripped from you. You only have the rights you exercise. You only have the right to free speech if you practice free speech. If you do things like this, if you go out and protest, that's the only time you have that right. If you refuse, it's like a muscle. If you don't work it, it becomes atrophied and sooner or later dies.
Right.
Okay? So when it comes down to it, even though the FCC, I'm sure, will not like this, I'm not quite sure what all they can actually do, seeing as they were, from what I understand, broadcasting on a non-used channel. But more power to them. More power to them. If I would have been there and had the resources, you know what? Damn straight, I'd have done the same thing.
Right.
I'm also told that other than fog, they would have had planes flying. They wanted to have planes flying around. They actually, from what I understand, went and rented the planes to fly around, dragging the banners and stuff. They wanted 7 planes in the air, but fog and weather restrictions, put the kibosh on that.
Can I switch gears here to Kara's article?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Oh.
Brian here. Citizens Against Police Brutality and We Are Change had a big showing. Yeah, they did. We Are Change is actually where I got that video. Hats off to those guys, too. I would like sooner, as soon as I can. I'm trying to get to the point where
Matt,
I can actually
you're on camera.
contact
Next time
them.
you need to have a hat on your head, and then you can just say hats off.
Tin foil.
there you go.
Tin foil one.
Say what you want, my friend.
That's great.
No, sooner or later, I don't know how
I'll
much you
make 'em
guys know
one.
about We Are Change. You need to look into them. They are absolutely a great citizen journalism group. And I'm sure you guys will not agree with everything they do, but they definitely stand up for liberty, and they stand up for rights. They stand up for the First Amendment.
You got to look at all sides of the news.
That's right.
media.
And I would love to get in touch with them. I just don't have time at this point, but sooner or later I'll make time and get in touch with them and start a branch. I know we got a branch in Tampa. I would love to start a branch down here. So there you go.
You got all the time to do that kind of thing?
I don't have a lot of time. I
was
make
gonna
time.
say you're just
You know,
volunteering to do more stuff.
Hey, you know the saying, if you want something done, give it to a busy person.
There you go. If you want something
That
done,
is
you
so
gotta do it
freaking
yourself.
true.
Okay, you got to do it yourself. Oh, good job, Lisa. You didn't curse. Okay, guys, we know Lisa. She's a great girl. Okay.
We had the beep button ready.
The beep.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have one of those.
Shh, don't tell them.
Go ahead with what.
No, I mean I haven't. You might want to just kind of explain, or maybe we can get Kara on mic or something. But this is an article that she put out, and if you want to throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, throw it up. Ricky's got it on his screen. Kara wrote this article, guys. It's on
our website, by the way.
Yeah, it's on our website. I've kind of turned her into our first citizen journalist. She's learning. The articles will come out slow for a while. I'm sure she'll pick up as she goes. This is the mesh grid that they first put in Seattle. Kara, what you're going to want to add to this, and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to
Stomp on her parade.
I'm not trying to poo-poo on your article. You did a wonderful job here, but what you want to add to this is the fact that it has expanded, and you can pull it off screen if you want to. It's actually expanded now. It looks like to L.A. and parts of Texas. So I wanted to.
Can you explain what the article's all about?
Yeah, I'm getting there. There. Sorry. This is teleprompter free. Sometimes I have to think about what I have to say here. I'm sorry. I'm human. Too much up here, So I know you don't have that. No, I'm just kidding.
It is.
I was going to make a sarcastic remark, but I
third on the Paul Revere show today.
So I should bring like a bowl of marbles and just start rocking it every once in a while.
Okay, so let me explain what the mesh grid is here, guys. And in fact, you've got it on screen. Why don't you read this part of the article right here, if you can see it?
I can kind of see it.
Okay, just make it bigger with your glasses if you need to.
What are they collecting, you ask? These router-like systems are designed to pull information from your phone, such as past locations, your IP address, the applications you have on your phone, the data that those applications in them. This information can be filtered to find any information enforcement agencies might want, including driving records.
All right, that's enough. We'll spare you because we know you can't see. He's blind, guys.
I am blind.
Yes. All right. Basically, what this does, guys, as you walk around in Seattle, which is confirmed, and it looks like it's. I'm maybe mistaken, but I think it's confirmed in LA as well. What this does, as you walk around, it constantly, it's like a Wi-Fi network. They call it a mesh grid because it's a Wi-Fi network that covers the entire city through different nodes all over the city. What it does is it downloads in real time. I think every 30 seconds it does a big download of everything on your phone, including the past 1,000 locations you have been. It also tracks in real time your location down to 1 foot accuracy.
Isn't Yeah, we touched a little bit about this on Fort Myers Beach when we were filming.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it, but I wanted to get into detail because I think there's a chance it might be coming here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I'll get into that another date when I have a chance to confirm it. I don't want to put out false information. But the idea here, guys, they say it's used for law enforcement purposes. They say it's used to predict crime, also known as pre-crime. Have you ever seen the movie Minority Report?
Right.
It's a scary situation where they can arrest you for things that they think you're going to do.
No, wait. Do you have sources on here?
This is the source. Scroll down.
Okay.
That right there is the contract with the city. You can also, these pictures are actually from the city. Those are the, if you want to put it back on screen, Kara. Show.
This is just a blanket contract from the city of Perk.
Yeah, exactly. Read it, but scroll up. It's a 13 meg file, so it takes a while to read. The first picture here is the is the network layout itself.
Can I blow it up? Let's see.
Yeah.
There we go.
So this is the network
Does that
layout
show up on the
itself.
screen?
It will in a second.
All right,
there you go. There's a little bit of a lag because of that computer. I got to work on it. As you know.
Okay, so
time
we got a
constraints.
graph here. So can you explain it to us?
Basically, I'm not going to get too technical, guys, but this is basically how it comes.
We should be technical. We're young.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I don't want to spend 2 hours explaining how a network works. Okay.
All right.
Basically, this just shows how it covers the entire the entire city. It's also tied into the internet. All the information here is piped into patrol cars so that they have access to every surveillance camera in the city that's connected to this network, and they're trying to make it to where even private security cameras are required to be connected to this network. But it's piped to every patrol car. It's piped to the EOC, and it's also piped to DHS and FEMA. Okay, and if you want to pull up the other one, go ahead and pull up. Yeah, pull up the next one here. I'll do it because maybe. Yeah, the computer's giving us issues.
I would just say, hey, let's just assume that everybody's watching us everywhere we go, all the time. That we have no privacy anymore.
No Fourth Amendment.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's my point.
And my problem is that the guy that exposed it. We've been going through this, I guess, for decades. And he leaked that information that
Edward Snowden did not leak this, by the way.
No, I'm just saying it leaked other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is,
you were about to have a Liso moment there.
Yes. And now they want to try him for treason, and it just makes you sick, and it makes you sad because you see this stuff happening. And it's not making the news, and they want to just talk about the sugar puff stuff that everyone wants to talk about, and the drama and the crisis and all the stuff that really doesn't matter. But this stuff here is
this stuff
our
really
freedom.
does matter because, guys, everybody says, well, if you got nothing to hide, what's it matter? Well, why the hell do you have a bathroom door then? Okay? You have things to hide. It's called privacy. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means you're an individual. Without privacy, there is no freedom. You cannot take privacy away without taking freedom away.
Right.
If someone, this is straight out of 1984, guys, if you've ever read that book.
Yep.
This is far worse. At least in that book, 1984, there was places you could go where you knew you weren't getting hurt.
Right.
Okay, anymore, now we got satellites that can hear us. I don't know how that works. I'm pretty smart with science, but you know what? I don't know how the hell they hear when they're outside the atmosphere, but they do it somehow. Okay? This is a big issue. If there's no place that you can go, guys, at what point, if let's just say, and I know you don't always agree with me here, but
I do on this.
on this issue, this is definitely police state status.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Let's just say that we go into a full tyranny, which I would say that we are definitely going into. Okay? So we're going into full hardcore tyranny. At this point, how does any opposition organize at all? If they know everything, how does any opposition organize?
No, you're right. You're right.
How does a senator?
They'll know exactly where you're going to go protest. They know where you're meeting. They know what you're talking about. They know exactly
Exactly.
what you eat, where you wipe your ass.
Well, it becomes
And
it becomes the same scenario that you had in Europe during World War II. You got to find and during the Soviet Union, you got to find underground little places to go to escape, and that's not
and what's sad about
that's not how our country was founded, and that's not how we should be.
And what's sad about this whole situation is that you don't have this exposed. This is not hitting the news. This is not on the radio.
Well, actually, the first ones to expose this obviously was not national media. That's state run as far as I'm concerned, including Fox. I'm sorry to the Republicans, but Fox News is really no better.
I've always agreed with that.
No, I was talking to some of the listeners, one of which I know is listening, and he's probably pulling his hair out right now. No, but guys, the state run media, the national media, no, they don't say anything about this. But the local Seattle channel was the first one to break this.
Wow!
And they actually came out and said, "Hey, what the hell?" And they went out there with their cell phones and showed that, hey, they're so in your face about this, it shows up on your cell phone under the Wi-Fi connections. Okay, so what they do is they go and they cause a big stink, and the city
and they get ignored.
No, the city said, well, we're going to turn it off. And they said, oh, great. And guess what? They never turned it off.
Well, and turning it off doesn't fix the problem, because you could just flip that switch and turn it right back on whenever you want to use it, can't you?
Yeah, but they said, well, what they said is they're going to turn it off until they need it, until they have a more defined use for it. But they never turned it off to begin with.
Right.
The idea here, guys, this is funded basically by DHS. If you want, guys, like I said, I've got the contract with the city right there. Kara actually had a good job. Put it on the page right there for you can read the whole contract.
Here's one thing I want to mention, and this is a bigger problem than what it is. I mean, if you look at it, and I'm switching gears, and I'll come right back to what you're saying, but if you look at the FDA, for example, and they have all of these drugs for cancer, and they can do a tremendous amount of good to people that are dying of cancer, and yet a patent takes I guess almost 80 years now for it to pass, and these people are dying, and yet the FDA, which is government controlled, they're not going to release it because it's not a profit for them. So all these people are dying and suffering and can't get these drugs that not just cancer but other diseases out there. And it just comes down to the point where I'm just saying that when you're talking about this camera situation, or the government having more control than it should, it's such a huge issue and a huge problem, yet nobody, until these people step up, like the whole thing, people with AIDS now can live a lot longer because people who were living with AIDS went on to the FDA and said, we want our drugs and we want them now, and they came in huge numbers.
Yeah.
And they released those drugs to those people who have that disease, and now a person with AIDS can live a whole life now, not having to worry about dying, until people step up and go and confront their constituents that are doing this, or their government, their local government or state government that's doing this. It's just going to continue to happen.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the FDA and the drug companies, the FDA basically is owned by the drug companies at this point. That's why the FDA is trying to bring in things like Codex Alimentarius and things like that. And I could spend a whole show on Codex Alimentarius and the pharmaceutical companies and
I know, but I just brought that into it because to me it almost seems related, because you've got big government controlling everything until people actually protest and hold them accountable and get angry and not cause a scene and not cause a mob. But until that happens, nothing's going to change. And the thing is that you had this JFK assassination anniversary, the 50th anniversary, and there's this big number of people that came in there and protested or whatever. Those are rare occurrences that happens because it's on an anniversary date. You know what I'm saying? So people really don't gather together unless it's organized, unless someone's leading the cause, unless someone's doing all the grit work. I mean, I mean, when we do events, a lot of people who are the leaders, they have to try to get people motivated and to do that kind of thing, and it's not going to happen with a snap of a finger. I'm
going to tie something back into your.
When you're done with that, I want to address what the viewer's saying.
Sure,
go ahead.
I'm going to tie this in. It was an article that I posted yesterday on the Kennedy assassination, not on the assassination, but on how the country is different today than it was then. Mm-hmm. And in 1958, when people were asked if they trusted the federal government to do the right thing most of the time. 73% of Americans said they did. You know what the figure is today?
3%.
It's 19%. I don't even know how it's that high.
Yeah,
I would say that's a
lower.
good thing. I really would, because I mean, you go back to George Washington. George Washington said that government was like fire. It was a dangerous friend and a fearful master. In other words, you never could trust it. You always have to keep it in check.
Well, but here's why it's not a good thing, because it's not that you should ever take government for granted to do the right thing, but you should have some expectation as a citizen that your government is doing right by you.
They're doing their job.
You know, and that expectation has gone away.
Yep.
Well, but
And what this says, you know, Kennedy called on his fellow citizens to ask what they could do for their country. Politicians no longer do such things because the reception they'd get.
They're
It's
looking
no longer
into their
what you
slush
can do for your
funds.
country. It's what can you get from your country. But the author went on to say, you know, there's another reason why public was inclined to place confidence in the federal government, and this ties in pretty good to, I think, what all of us believe, and that's government did far less then. There was no, you know, there was less Washington bureaucracy. There was no energy department, education department. There was no housing and urban development. There was no transportation, veterans affairs, or homeland security. So we didn't interfere in people's lives as much. And now that we do more of that, we have less trust in government. We don't like our government as much. We don't believe that they're doing the right thing. And it ties into the more our government does to us, the less that we like what they do.
Right.
So that should be a lesson for people.
Let me, because
Less
this
government.
actually ties in very well, because Dustin on the chat there is asking where do you see the government moving with all this? Well, to tie that in with what you're saying, I would say that the inherent trust that they had in the government is part of the reason that we've gone this far, because, you know, just as Thomas Jefferson said, you know, the amount of tyranny that you will live under is the exact amount that you will put up with. If you trust your government, if you don't keep them in check, they will always, always, always grow and always become more tyrannical. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Exactly. You know, and what Lisa's saying is exactly right. You know, it's the community's purpose, and that's the point.
That's
exactly
right.
The government did far less back then, and we were happy about it. Now the government wants to create a nanny state where they take care of us from cradle to grave, and we despise it.
The reason that the government has become a nanny state, the reason the government has become so big and so powerful, is because the citizenry didn't stand up and stop it. It is the job of the citizens, it's the job of the states and the local communities to stand against Washington.
Absolutely right.
That's why I fully support the 10th Amendment movement, nullification, and yes, the states have every authority under the 10th Amendment to nullify what's going on in Washington.
They do.
I mean,
absolutely.
Like I've said, so many things are not covered by the Article 1, Section 8, the enumeration of federal powers. If it's not enumerated there, the federal government doesn't have the right to do it. And the states have every right to tell them to pound sand. You can't go here. You can't do this. And the states can nullify that. So
great. I agree.
That's where this is headed, Dustin. This is headed. If we don't stand up, there is nothing to stop a power-hungry elite that we've got. You know, there's a reason that we always get bastards basically in charge. They say scum rises to the top. You know, good people like you and I don't want to rule over everybody. We don't want to have a lot of power. We basically want to be left alone to live our lives and be happy. The people that actually want that power, that want to rule over people, will strive for it. And at that point, they're the ones who actually go out and try and really work to make it to the heights of government, make it to the highest offices, and that's why they get there. And that's why governments are inherently corrupt, because the people that want to be there are psychopathic.
What do you do to change that?
What do you have to do to change? You're never going to change the people that want to be there. You're always going to have that type of person up there. So the citizenry has to hold them accountable, has to do things like impeachment. Earlier, somebody asked, and we never got a chance to ask.
I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. I think that people if they want to hold their elected officials accountable for what they're doing, they need to recruit people that are not that like-minded.
Well, exactly.
And get them to run for office.
And I agree with you.
And that there needs to be not just the Tea Party or any group out there. They need to form a group that gets these people that are liberty-minded, that are constitutional-minded, that are not opportunists,
Well,
that go into
We're working
office.
on that.
Well,
And
there's a couple of things that have to happen, and that's one of them. But there's a second step to that, Rick and Matt, and it's you can't just go out and find the right candidate and say, this is the guy that stands for everything I believe in. Let's send him up there. Let's.
Eventually, the chances are he'll become corrupt too,
Well,
because
it's not
always.
even
No.
that. It's
I
not
said
even
the chances are. I didn't say always.
and it's not even that. That's not the point. It's that time and again we find these candidates that we fall in love with, and we get them to run, and then what happens? We'll vote for you. Well, that's not enough.
No,
No.
And we'll
they-
organize a rally
they-
for you, and that's not enough.
They go and buy cocaine.
I've got your mic up really loud so that you don't have to be right on it, and you overdrive it. So don't put your lips right on it. I'm trying to help you out because you're sick.
And that's Mike's lessons.
Yeah.
Lessons for Mike's.
Yeah.
But the other point, and the point I'm getting to, is that all of the people out there who claim that they want to get these people elected, it takes more than just backing them and saying we're behind you. Give them money. It takes money to win elections, and I don't care who you are. It takes money to win elections.
More than money. I don't have a lot of money. I'm
Right.
not going to go write a big check to
Don't
a candidate.
have to, but
what
if-
I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there. If I find a candidate that I really like, you know what? I'm building myself a platform. I'll push him here. I'll push him on the streets. I'll do everything I can to help him in the way that I can. If you've got money, write a check. But it takes more than money.
But you don't win without money.
That's right.
You don't win without money, and so if it's $20, if it's $10, if
Doesn't
there's
matter.
this great Tea Party, let me stop using that
let
term.
me say real quick. Let me say real quick.
Let me just say,
Kara and Matt, when we were at the annual convention last year, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're saying about contributions, and it doesn't matter what the amount of money that you give into a candidate.
That's right.
They gave like 50 cents, and he had to actually write that whole off and saying he had to put that into his. It was an actual contribution. If you're giving a quarter,
well,
to a
all right.
candidate,
If you're not given enough, money to even buy a can of Diet Pepsi, then you probably should save your money. You probably need that money. But for the average guy, if you give $20, $10, $50, whatever you can
Well,
give,
it adds up.
It adds up, and especially if this network of conservatives, Tea Party people around the country want to take their country back, they will do this around the country. It can be a guy in California giving $10 to a guy in Florida, whatever it takes.
But I hate to say it.
do.
Well, here's
Tea
That's-
Party and the
it
Tea
takes
Party,
money to win
you have to
elections.
be connected with the chairwoman of the Tea Party Express.
Then that's wrong. That's
That's
what's
how
it's-
wrong with the
No,
process.
that's how it's-
That's
Hold
not
up,
the
guys.
Tea Party.
Hold up. Let me, because there's so much more to this.
That's true.
There's so much more to this. Okay, it's not just money. It's not just support. It also takes finding a way to break through the barriers. Because, look at what happened to Ron Paul. You can't tell me that he didn't have the support. He had support. He had money, but he was shut down by the media completely. He was not allowed to partake
And he was
in
also
most of the debates.
and he was also taking money that he had earned on his campaign and gave it to his family.
Well, first of all,
that's fine.
First of all, we're talking about
I'll
all-
give you that. But I'm
Hundreds of
talking about
thousands.
getting people that we can support into.
But we're talking
into
about
office.
a whole different level of office. That's a presidential race, and that
That's
whole
different, yeah.
dynamic is different.
It's
We're
almost
talking
as
about
hard to get.
We're-
Take for instance, let's say state governor. Okay, have you even heard of Adrian Wiley?
But listen, you're talking about statewide, huge office races. If we can't get focused on county commissions, state representatives, state houses,
I agree.
these kind of races, that's
Those are
where you
more
got to get
important.
people in. You got to
Yep.
worry about that before you can jump to the next level, because
I
that,
completely
none
agree.
of it, even that state level commission and rep, those races don't get won without money. I don't care who you are or what you say.
Yeah,
I've
but
been there
money,
and done it.
money
Takes
is
money.
not money
It
is
does.
not enough.
Yeah, money is
No, money
the
is the whole
deciding
thing.
factor.
It's
Period.
not enough.
I've worked on
Show me one
several
race where it
different-
hasn't been.
Yeah.
Show me one
Never.
race where it hasn't
If
been.
you don't get, I don't care how much money you get, if in those bigger races, if you don't get media coverage, if the media shuts you down, you have no chance
we
in hell.
we
They're not
aren't
gonna cover
talking
you.
about the bigger races. We
They're
aren't
gonna
talking
cover you
about
unless you have
governor
I gave you that.
president.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you wholly on that issue. There's nothing to debate there for the local races. I'm talking about, state and federal races. This is where it comes down to, you know what, we've got to break that barrier. If we want real candidates, not establishment hacks, we have to break that barrier. We can fix the local communities. It just takes people getting off their butts and doing something about it. The local communities are a lot easier, but we also have to start working on the bigger races.
And I know I'm reading Lisa's comments here, but that's, it's all nice to say that money doesn't matter, but unfortunately
It does.
It really does in a race.
It
It
is
really
the
does.
deciding factor, or
If
else
you don't
we would-
have it, you have no you have
And
no
this is-
reason to be running.
it doesn't
Sorry.
in local city elections because you only get 10% of the people out to vote, but
Right.
you can go knock on everybody's door then. Everybody's door. 10
Well,
times,
doesn't matter.
probably.
I think I knocked on for Chris. I think I knocked on what? I knocked last year 6,000 doors. I know that. And the thing is that I worked on several campaigns and
Right.
I busted it in the rain. I remember I had no air conditioning in my car. I was in the middle of the swamp somewhere in Collier County, and I will never do it again because I think I'm just kind of killed on the whole knocking on the door thing. But I'm going to tell you that no matter how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doors, that doesn't really make a difference unless you have money.
No, because if you knock on doors and your opponent knocks on doors, you cancel each other out. But if you can send one mailing and your opponent can send
Right.
10 and run commercials, you've got a different
And this
ballgame.
is,
Different ballgame.
and guys, this is, I've harped on this before, and I'll harp on it again. This is why I would love to see a donations restriction, no matter who it comes from, whether it be a business or whether it be a person, of $100
They-
per election.
They have $500 limit. And like when Chris ran for state
but
representative
it's not like
last
how
time.
I'm talking about. You can make a $500 donation, later on make another one.
Right.
Okay? I'm saying per race, $100 is the maximum you can give. Cut the money out of politics, and you cut a lot of the evil out of politics, because at that point, the special interests have no more power than you and me.
Well, I agree. There has to be
Yeah.
election reform for sure.
And
I
that's
was going to say one thing. When Chris ran for when he ran for state representative last time around, and
No,
he,
Brian, he said Chris, as in me, not Charlie.
no, Chris Berardi here, right across the table from me. When he ran for state representative last year,
if he was for Chris, he wouldn't be on this show.
the money that was raised from his opponent. His opponent raised $170,000, and Chris here raised about 30. No, I take that back. That was 7.
Yeah,
it was
about,
7,000
less than 10,
roughly,
less
right?
than 10.
Less than 10. And you still got 30% of the vote,
Right.
if I remember correctly. But it was funny. Your opponent's political ad. It was all like I fished on these waters. I drove down these streets. I took my first date to Coralwood Mall. There was no substance, yet you, who has been involved in the Mayor's Scholarship Association, you've been involved in the Budget Review Committee, you've been involved in every committee I can imagine, and you've been involved in every aspect in the community, and your list went on and on and on and on, and your opponent had really zero experience in being involved in the community. And when we would sit there, he would ask
Except
you,
the felon for a daddy.
Let me say real quickly, when they would sit there and talk, he would ask Chris the answers to the questions that the people were asking him.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, because he had the money,
Did you give him the answers?
he did.
You moron.
I did in
You
a very
did. I was
in a
sitting right
very in
there.
a very loud way so that everyone knew I was giving him the
You
answer.
still.
Yes, and he
You
still
know what? Honestly,
lost.
Yeah, you had that been
Here,
there.
hold on.
You had that been there.
You must read this.
No, I have read that.
The art of
Okay.
war. Yeah.
It was
When your enemy is killing himself, don't help.
It
no.
didn't matter.
You
It
had
didn't
that
matter.
been there. You had
It
that
didn't
been in
matter.
that
You know,
situation.
here's the thing, Matt. It didn't matter if he answered the questions or not because
That was Sun Tzu's Art of War, by the way, guys.
I'm not going to say the name who it was, but he had $170,000, And all he had to do was send out mailers about his grandpa that was a vet.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with him, and it was huge. I mean, the mail-in was like a big poster, and everyone got it. And they go, "Oh, my grandfather was a vet, so you should vote for me." And I fished on those waters, and I took my girl for my first date was at Coralwood Mall. It had no substance, yet he still got elected. So it comes down to, like you said before, money. And
Hell, we elected a president on that too.
Right. Had no experience. What was he, a community organizer? And people fall for it. So where do we correct it?
Yeah,
There is no, people are sheep.
And that's why I say it
And
comes
the
down,
local level, too.
And that's why I say it comes down to money. And if you're really an activist who believes in a cause such as the Tea Party, it takes more than just being a cheerleader. You got to give money, even if it's a couple of bucks.
Take time
And
out of
more-
your week and do something.
And more, guys, I agree. You need to give money to campaigns that you believe in. I really do.
If you can
But if you can afford it.
even if it's
Now,
$5.
Yeah, anything. It adds up, guys. But at the same point, I think the biggest thing you can do to help not only a campaign but help this country is to try to educate the people around you. It's been said hundreds of times, but I'll say it again. A nation of sheep will be ruled by wolves. If the people around us are morons and don't know what the hell's going on, they don't even know what planet they live on half the time right now, okay? They're just complete morons. We have no hope of bringing this country back to something that we can recognize as a free country as long as the average person is stupid.
I was going to say, when you're talking about the wolves thing, there's only a few of us, I mean, even with locally, that take on the wolves. And if you don't have any backup, you're just kind of like standing there going, and they're going, "Oh, that's
and
that
that's
crazy
fine.
one."
That's fine. You know what? Quite honestly, every movement, there has to be someone who stands up and looks like the fool.
That's why I've always been trying to tell you, Matt, that you need to attend executive committee meetings.
I've tried. And you know
All
what?
you got to do is be quiet and just have your
You know
presence
what?
there. and sit.
I've tried.
Wait, Matt,
And we will have.
be quiet. What?
Yeah, that's my big problem there.
Zip.
I'm not gonna zip it. I'm not gonna stop talking. I'm not gonna do it.
So
It's
then,
not gonna do any
why don't
good.
even if you want to say something and get in their faces, go and do it.
We'll have this discussion later because there's news coming that I'm not gonna put out yet.
Oh.
And Brian, I would say that I prefer to call Charlie Crist by his nickname, and it's Flipper. Actually, I think we're gonna
Flipper.
have that theme song every time we talk about Charlie
We
Crist on
can't
the
have that
show.
theme song. We don't have a license.
No.
Damn.
Unless you want to fork out the money, because
Can
I'm
we sing it?
dry.
Can we sing it?
No, well, I did a little bit, but
All right, okay. Well, fine.
it's still
We
copyrighted.
could just throw up an image of a chameleon.
We'll put a picture of a dolphin up there,
Oh,
and
whatever.
that'll have to do.
Yeah, we can do that.
Generic dolphin.
Oh, you put up that nice picture with the clothes on the empty chair.
Yeah, it's
I just found this on
What
on
is this?
Breitbart. You might want to throw it up on the screen. Obama's marriage penalty, and the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, penalizes married couples, and by making it more difficult than unmarried couples to receive subsidies. Under the new law, couples living together who are not married could save up to $10,000 more than a married couple.
Well, it's the income qualification thing, and that's been out in the news for a while.
Has it?
Let's just agree. I think everyone agrees that the whole Obamacare thing is a disaster, train wreck. Use whatever word you want. It just gets worse the deeper it goes, and you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till it actually works. Then you'll really see how bad it is. I mean, I talked earlier. I talked on the Tuesday show about how the payment.
Might as well plug that because at the same time they plug us.
Well, I'll get to that.
All right.
But we talked about how the payment system portion is only 30 to 70%. Talk about a range. 30 to 70% is unfinished. I mean, this is a system that's supposed to start in a couple of days, and it's not even close to even being built.
Didn't they postpone it?
Not this part.
Oh.
You can apply, but you can't pay. You've got the DC Health Insurance Exchange part that.
I just noticed that. Thanks, whoever that is. Yeah. Red, white, and blue.
Oh, hey, that's pretty cool.
That was not planned.
Not at all, but I like it. So DC Healthcare Exchange part covers elective abortions, but it doesn't cover hearing aids. It doesn't cover infertility treatment, but you can get an abortion on the plan.
So my taxes pay for abortions?
They already
Yeah,
do.
they do anyway. But, and here's the other thing. There was a guy in Colorado, this was news a couple of days ago, who tried to sign up for Obamacare. Well, he didn't get signed up, but his dog is now covered. I swear to God, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, my dog, I've got a golden retriever, for those of you who don't know, Echo. I signed her up. She got an Obama phone and an EBT card, too.
Well, hey.
So she's set.
The dog food's all paid for.
Brian is spot on here. This is really an attack to destroy a family. See, if you really want to bring a country to its knees, you got to attack its central unit, and that would be the family. If you get rid of the family, Hitler said it best. First get the women, then come the children, so follow the men. If you destroy the family, eventually you'll have the whole crew basically chasing their tail to the point where you can do anything you want.
This whole Obamacare thing, though, is not going to not even have a prayer unless they get young people on the exchange that are
and that's
healthy.
not going to happen.
It's not.
Why would you sign up
young
if you're a young
people?
person?
I mean, why would when I was in my 20s, I didn't have health insurance because I didn't need it. I was like, if in the worst case scenario, and nobody when you're that young thinks about the worst case scenario. You sit there and you go, why would I want to pay $200 or $300 or more a month for health insurance I don't need?
Even financially, it makes no sense.
Right.
I'm 30 years old. I'm 30 years old, and people criticize me for this all the time. And I just quite honestly, I don't trust the medical system. To be honest with you, I haven't been to the doctor in probably 10 years, probably more than that. Why the hell should I get insurance? When I get sick, I do a little research and I find some natural supplements and stuff that actually knocks it out in a hurry.
Well,
I haven't been sick in a long time.
Exceptions. I mean, like me, for last February, I had my appendix.
There are some exceptions, but here's the deal.
You have to go right to the emergency room.
That's right. There are some exceptions. I had my knee blow out. Okay, I shattered my knee, and you know what? That's one thing that the medical system is really good at. When you're broken, they're really good at putting you back together. They're not so good at fixing you illness-wise, but they're pretty good at putting you back together. But here's the deal, guys. It's cheaper in the long run to pay for that out of pocket than it is to pay insurance. Let's say I've been paying, I'd paid, simple mathematics tells you guys that if an insurance company is dishing out more to cover what you do, what you have done in the hospital than you're paying, they'll go out of business. When you're young, and it's going to be few and far between that you have to go to the doctor or go to the hospital, it makes no financial sense, as long as you're healthy, to have health insurance. Why?
Well, and the program is kind of, it kind of defeats its own cause, because part of Obamacare is that your kid can now be covered on your policy till they're 26. Well, that's exactly the age people they need to sign up in order for them to pay for the program. It's just a disaster all the way around.
Completely. I didn't think about it that way. You're completely right, because if they're going to be on their plan till they're 26 years old, what's the sense of them even? It's
going to be the unraveling of the Democrat, of the liberal Democrat Party as we know it. Unless the Republicans find a way to snatch a victory from the
Let me rebut you real quick here, because I agree with you, but I think I don't think this is going to be the death of the liberal agenda. Okay, I truly believe we've gone over this before, guys. I'm a programmer. I've looked at the code. First of all, there's no reason in hell that you're going to use ASP to write a website now. It doesn't make any sense. It's an archaic technology. It doesn't work.
Right.
Like I said before, you could throw a typewriter down the stairs and whatever it types is going to be better code. But here's the deal. The whole thing was meant to fail from the beginning.
Sure it was.
So what you're trying to say is that they need to wipe this whole website clean.
I'm not just talking about the website. I'm talking about the whole thing was intended to fail.
And it was.
The idea here is to bring in a truly socialistic...
we've said this before. The whole single-payer system.
Yeah, single-payer system. And at that point, every single solitary thing you do as an individual affects the cost of your health care, and therefore needs to be
Let me
regulated
ask a question
by
to
the
both of you.
state.
Let me ask a
botched
question
it.
then.
They've
I don't
totally
think so.
screwed
Let me
it
ask a
up.
question to both of you then. Do you really, now in both of your opinion, I just needed a yes or a no really, do you really believe that we're going to get to that single payer system, or do you think we're not going to be there?
What do you think?
You just want a single word answer?
I just need,
yes
do you think
or
we're going
no?
to be there? Do you think, I
No.
mean, make predictions.
I think
No.
it's a possibility. I really
Yes
do.
or no?
I think it's a. I'm not going to give you a yes or no because it's not a yes or no.
Well, if you
answer.
make a state right here and then it actually happens and you say, I predicted that.
Yeah, but I don't. I do.
I knew it
I
was
do my
gonna
best
happen.
not to make predictions. I can tell you what I see happening, but I'm not going to say this is going to happen, because anything could happen. But I truly believe that is the idea. I don't see any way you couldn't see
Yeah,
that
I think
is the
I
idea.
think you're right about that.
Okay. Now, I think there is. I think there's a distinct possibility it could happen, because I think this was designed to wreck the healthcare system, and it's doing it.
I heard a
If we have
prediction
no
out there.
healthcare system, we've got to have something.
I heard a prediction out there in 2014, by the end of the year, that 100 million people are going to lose their health insurance. No, I don't know if that's extreme.
No, I don't think that's extreme. I think
No,
that's
I don't
probably
think it is
conservative.
That's
Yeah.
1/3 of the population
Yeah.
in the country.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So if 1/3 of the population doesn't have health insurance, are they all going to be forced into this?
They're going to be forced to try to get into this, but the thing is such a train wreck, they won't be able to get into this, and so we're going to have to completely rebuild it from the ground up. And what's going to be proposed is a single payer socialistic healthcare system. And
So in the meantime, everyone that's sick or ill or needs surgery goes
here's the deal.
into the hospital and they can't afford it and they're stuck with
But
a
they don't
$50,000.
you really think that?
No, my point is, Matt, if somebody's sick that doesn't have health insurance, and we're talking about 1/3 of the population of this country, they go into the hospital and they say, I need surgery, and that's a $50,000 bill. My point is that adds up 100 million people.
That's
so
right.
what's going to happen in the long run?
That's right. And it used to be that the hospitals, under the Hippocratic Oath, had to render aid. They had to. 1/3 of their care had to be done as charity care.
Right.
Under Obamacare,
But eventually you run out of charity.
Now listen to me. Under Obamacare, that goes away.
Right.
Like I said, what you're describing is the intended consequence of this of Obamacare.
Well, look, here's what I don't think that they figured on. Yeah, they figured it was not going to work, absolutely. But I don't think they figured on it being the level of complete and total disaster it was.
I would agree with that.
And getting the blame for it.
I think
And
they're a
right
victim.
about that.
I think they're a victim of their own success at this point.
Yeah.
I really do. I think the intention was to destroy the healthcare system. I don't think they intended it to be so thorough and so quick. I do believe they intended to totally destroy it. I don't think they intended it to be so quick. I think they've jumped the shark.
So that, combined with what Harry Reid just did with the nuclear option, I think spells disaster for it, and that's why I don't think we're going to end up single payer.
Well, the problem I have there is you've got to come up with a better idea than a single payer. Which is easy to do for you and me, but try to sell the general public on it.
Right. Well, and that's where we need to get people in office who are there
and that's
to do
where
the
we
right
need to
thing.
educate the general public. We need
Right.
more things like this. We need the people that are watching right now to hit
Absolutely.
the streets. When you guys when you're walking around in the store and somebody's talking about, oh my God, I got to pay so much for this or so much for that, explain to them why. It's that simple.
Let's move on to.
Let's
I
make
know
this.
We're down about 15.
But
16
we also
minutes,
need to get
but-
into announcements too. So go.
Well,
ahead.
we will. Let's move on. I want to talk about two things real quick. One ties into the other, in my opinion. But I want to lead us off with the kind of a Common Core issue, and that's a biography that's being taught. And I know this is rare because as we prepared notes for the show, we usually send each other the articles we want to talk about. Well, it's rare because me and Matt both had the same article that we wanted to talk about, and I think
This
we both
almost never happens.
It doesn't, and I think we both have the same take on it. I think,
Which is even more rare.
but it's this idea that now in a fourth grade class in Dupo, Illinois, a biography, and I'll do the little air quotes thing, biography of President Barack Obama is required reading.
Sure. Flip through those real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the book, it's not just this is a guy that came up and, became our first African American president, whatever. This book contains a whole bunch of controversial items, including casting Caucasians who disagree with Obama's politics as racist. Should we expect anything less, though, from the media? That's what they've always.
Where
done
was this?
here.
Where was this? Where did this
Illinois.
happen?
Bluffview
Illinois.
Elementary School is where the
In
book
Illinois.
is right now.
And this is
in
in a
Illinois.
textbook.
Yes, it's required reading. What grade is that?
Fourth grade.
Yeah.
And let me give you a couple
How
of.
did that book even get approved?
Let me give you a couple excerpts from the book. The book continually identifies Obama on a first name basis.
As Barry.
It bizarrely blames the evils of television for learning ways to be black that are caricatured and stereotypical and negative. So here's an excerpt from the actual book. When Barry looked in the mirror, he saw a young black man, but he didn't know how to be black, and no one was there to teach him. He decided to act like the black leaders he saw on TV. He started acting tough. He cursed. Was that what it meant to be black? As he got older, he started smoking and drinking. He tried drugs. Was that what it meant to be black? Now,
This is a fourth grade.
this
book.
is a fourth grade book. Now, is the author purposely saying, well, if you're black, you drink and do drugs and you're a thug? Is that
Wow.
is that the essence of what they're trying to say? I mean, they're stereotyping everyone. That to me is racist.
Why in the hell?
And I'm going to give you
why isn't there like this angry rise against this school board or even the school for even allowing this to happen?
It gets worse. You think that's bad, and if you're annoyed about that, as I was, here's another excerpt, okay?
Annoyed should be a light word.
And the biography goes on to charge that white Americans did not want to vote for Obama because of his skin color. However, it neatly explains America's 44th president was able to bring everybody together in blissful unity. And here's the excerpt from the book. But some people said Americans weren't ready for that much change. Sure, Barack was a nice fellow, they said, but white voters would never vote for a black president. Other angry voices were raised. Barack's former pastor called the country a failure. God would damn the United States for mistreating its black citizens, he said. Would you want your kid in this school? Would you want your kid reading this book?
If we were like nationally syndicated and we had money, I would say let's just book our next ticket to this city and raise some hell, because that right there is straight up racism on the other end.
Well,
Just to say the fact that white people are racist towards black people, but then it never is mentioned how the fact that it goes both ways. And the thing is that why is that in a freaking textbook for a fourth grader?
You know what? This brings us to a subject that we
mixed emotions.
It's a touchy subject, but it shouldn't be. This might take a little while, so if we need to, I know you got some announcements. We'll do a little overtime for that. But guys, I watch MSNBC and all that once in a while just to see what they're saying. I'll flip it on, and you know what? All I see is race baiting. Guys, I know a lot of people. Okay? I know one guy that I can't stand, and neither can anybody else I know, that is truly racist. White guy. Okay? One guy. Race is not so much an issue.
I think we qualify. All three of us are white.
Yeah. Well,
average male. That's what they don't want, is the average middle-aged white male.
My point is here. My point is here that you got MSNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC,
all the alphabetical networks.
All the alphabet networks out there doing nothing but race baiting.
Right.
You know what? You got Obama doing race baiting. You got Oprah Winfrey going out there saying that people that disagree with Obama are racist and that, quote, should die.
No, she really said that basically.
She said they should die.
I do remember that. Yeah, she did say that. there's never been this level of hatred for the high office.
And you know what? It's not because he's black.
I will admit, I've seen, even on Facebook, I've seen some racial stuff.
Yeah, there's some racial stuff going, but it is the exception to the rule.
But not wait. No, I don't agree with the fact that I see these memes and all these things that are posted on Facebook that are race baiting. That's crap. When I see stuff on there, and I've seen it quite often on the Fly Obama, I forget. There's different pages that they just go after his race.
You know what?
It's disgusting. I mean, they should not go that way.
I'm gonna put this out there, okay? If it wasn't for the alphabet media, the state-run media, race baiting all the time, racism would be a side note and hardly an issue in this country at all.
Why is
everybody I know is past that. Everybody I meet is past that. Nobody gives a damn what color your skin is anymore, other than those who are constantly calling racist.
Well, it's the lowest form of debate for these so-called experts on anything. When they run out of ways to defend their position, immediately they go, "Oh, racist." That's because they can't defend their argument. They can't make an argument. They can't justify what they're saying.
It's not working anymore, though.
So play the race card, and
it's
that
not
gets you
working
out
anymore.
Of it.
You know what it comes down to?
His approval rating's what, 37%?
I just remembered something, guys, and look it up if you can. I know putting you on the spot, so if you can't find it, people at home can Google it. There was a teacher that just came out. Did you know that a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is racist?
Yeah, that's not a new story. That's Portland school system, and I talked about that probably 6 months ago on the Tuesday show.
I just saw it.
It's almost comical. Some of the stuff.
Brown bagging it is now racist.
Right, that's offensive to Hispanics apparently.
Well, they said it was offensive to blacks, but see, here's the problem. When I saw that, I went, "This is crap. It's got to be crap." And I went, "Look, I could not find one instance,
that's true.
One reference in history that people said brown bagging was a racist comment."
Well, and should we now, if you're white, should you,
this comes from thecollegefix.com, by the way.
It's been on several sites, but
it's been on
now if you're African American, should you not be allowed to bring crackers to school? I mean,
well, no, because
is that racist?
It's okay.
Is that wrong?
It's okay to hate white people. But the problem is,
remember that girl at the Trayvon Martin trial, and she said white ass cracker. When she said creepy ass cracker. When she said that, nobody took offense to that, and nobody was saying anything about the fact that she used the word cracker.
Guys, this goes back a long ways. It goes back to the British Crown. When it started, it was originally called balkanization and the Great Game. It's divide and conquer, pure and simple. If they keep us fighting with each other over stupid crap like what color your skin is, then they can do anything they want. And if you disagree with it, you're a racist. So now everybody's so scared of being called a racist that they won't argue their point at all. They won't bring up common sense because they might be called a racist.
Exactly.
That's all this is. This is divide and conquer. It's an ancient game.
I agree.
So
that's absolutely right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off on a rant there, guys.
That was a school system. That was a school system that said peanut butter and jelly and brown bags. So let's stick with the school theme here for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
I've for years now said voucher systems are the way to go. Voucher systems are the only way to fix the school problem right now. We've seen success in Louisiana, despite the fact that the Justice Department is trying to screw up that program that they put in place in New Orleans since Hurricane Katrina. Google New Orleans school vouchers, and you'll learn something about a system that's actually working. But I'm going to tie this into a local issue here. And
I almost forgot about that. I'm glad
our local school board is considering a tax increase. Now, this would be a sales tax, half-cent sales tax, which has to be approved by the voters. But they're strongly leaning towards placing it on the ballot so that we could vote on.
Do you think the voters will go for it?
No. I don't. We have a history in Lee County of at least over the last 20 years or so not voting to tax ourselves.
In the county.
Yeah, Lee County School Board has the biggest budget in Lee County, bigger than the county itself, bigger than any city within the county.
And they need more money.
they have a huge percentage of money that goes to administration and not teachers.
It couldn't possibly be that there's waste in there that they could trim. No, everything is as slim and trim as it could possibly be.
Well, that's it.
And therefore, there's no alternative than to suck the cash cow called the taxpayer.
And I've got 2 points in this. And the first is that their argument, the school board's argument is that, well, the state has mandated so many things now, and they've mandated how we can use the money, and they've mandated what we have to teach, so now we need to go get more money. Now, does that make sense to anybody outside of government? Shouldn't the solution be, as an elected official, get your ass up to Tallahassee and work with the state,
do your job,
to figure out how to get rid of the regulations, get more money that you're already spending down to the local level,
with the county
and
commission.
better use what you have than to go ask the taxpayers to take the easy road out and ask the taxpayers to give you more money. Go do your job. Fight for the schools. Go make government smaller. Go fix the problem. Don't ask for more money from us to fix it.
The thing is with these local officials, even on the school board, county commission, whatever, the overall thing is that most of them do not want to do what you just said, Chris, was actually go do your job.
That's their job.
I know. And even reaching out to the community, getting in the trenches, most of these elected officials just go onto their dais, have a little talk, saying, oh, we have to raise some money. We're on shortfalls right now. Instead of actually going out there and dealing with the community or dealing with Tallahassee or dealing with their state legislator or their Senate. The thing is that a lot of these elected officials are lazy.
They're lazy. If your problem is that you're telling me that the federal government has too many regulations and the state's giving you too many regulations, don't come pick my pocket for more money. Go fix the problem.
Oh, exactly.
I've got a better idea.
Uh-oh.
And I think you guys might actually like this idea, believe it or not. It goes much farther than than the vouchers that you tout all the time. The simple idea here behind schools goes actually back to Germany. Under Hitler, they called it kindergarten for a reason. That's the German name.
Right.
It's indoctrination of the young.
Right.
The public school system was invented to indoctrinate the young people into thinking like the state. Independent thought is a crime. That goes all the way back to Chai, but he picked it up from many others. The idea that I'm putting across here, guys, is that you're the parents. You're the first educator.
Get loud and get in front of them.
Not only that, if there is any possible way you can pull your kids out of school and homeschool, that is the best way they're going to get educated.
Yeah.
And the schools that we should have should be community driven, should not have anything to do with the state. It should be city run and no more.
And I agree with you, Matt. I think that homeschooling is definitely an option. I throw vouchers out there as a way to kind of start to make the change necessary, and as a way to get kids educated who maybe have parents that have.
I
have
agree.
To work
Vouchers
2 jobs,
are a good start.
It's a way to. It's a beginning step. But yeah, if you could homeschool, I think that's a great option.
All right, and I got. Let's move into announcements here real quick, and we've got. In the Southwest Florida Young Republicans in Lee County, Fort Myers, Cape Coral area, we're expanding the group to Charlotte County, and we're launching that with Congressman Rooney. We're trying to get as many people as we can to the event. It's on December 19th and on Thursday at 5 p.m. It's also at the Ice House Pub. If you've ever been there, it's a great place. If you know how to play snooker, this is the place to play it. It's a great venue, and they've got. It's kind of like the World of Beer.
Yeah, I mean,
it's privately owned.
If you're a bit of a beer connoisseur, they have a
great.
huge selection of beer on tap and in bottle. Good food, good English.
But if you need the address, I'll put it up on the screen. It's 408 Tamiami Trail North, Punta Gorda, Florida. 33950, and like I said, it's on the 19th of December, a Thursday at 5 p.m. And we're hoping to get the high school kids there, the college kids, and also the community in Charlotte County. And I'm inviting everyone in the state. not to mention our friends here in Lee County. We're trying to make this as big as possible. This is our first launch into Charlotte County. So from here on out, I'm hoping that we can get one speaker from Charlotte and one speaker from Lee County, and then we can meet in between and try to hopefully grow the young Republicans within both counties.
Well, and this is kind of a cross section because Tom or Congressman Rooney covers a
huge portion,
a good
of Florida.
portion of Lee County as well. He covers a lot of Lehigh Acres and the eastern part of the county.
But he also covers a lot of territory north, and I think all the way across the
he
state.
goes across the state.
Yeah,
into
so
Palm
he's got a
Beach.
huge district. And so anyway, if you want to meet Congressman Rooney, just RSVP on our page. I'll post it on the Paul Revere page, and it will be interesting. And I'm hoping that we can stream it live and record it and maybe throw it up on our page as well. So
yeah, there's possibility of that. I've got two quick announcements, guys. First off, on December 14th, I will not be here. I will be on site. You'll still see me on the broadcast. I'll be popping in and out of the broadcast. The local branch of Anonymous is putting on what they're calling Operation Safe Winter down at Centennial Park on December 14th. So I'll be down there, guys. If you've got any clothes that you were going to give to Goodwill or something like that, how about giving it to somebody who's actually going to do something good with it? Goodwill basically is a for-profit business run as a non-profit.
right.
So instead of doing that on the 14th, bring it down to Centennial Park. I'll be down there with Anonymous, many of the local activists that are part of Anonymous, and we'll be collecting clothes and distributing it to the homeless. And I do believe we are going to be distributing to the homeless in person, so there's no third party in the middle there to
Great.
try to suck profits off of it. I do believe we're taking it straight to the homeless camps and giving to them in person. The idea here is to keep them, we don't get real cold in the wintertime here, but we do get chilly. We do get cold enough to make it extremely uncomfortable. And you know what? These guys they're homeless already. They you know what? Whether it's their fault they're homeless or not, it's still our job to at least try to treat them as a human being. And if we're not using something, how about let's give it to somebody who can use it? Okay? Other than that, guys, we're going to wind this down, but I want to tell you about next week. Next week, these two guys are going to be out of town. It's a holiday weekend. I will still be here, and I'm having Brian back, if you remember him, the guy with the funny beard. We are going to be discussing civil rights, your rights, and how to stand for them. Your rights and responsibilities in a free society. So join us for that next week.
Awesome. The beard is coming back.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your promo. The beard is back.
You know, when like I said, I've been sick of the last few days, and I hadn't shaved for like 3 days. And I was looking like, Duck Dynasty. I was like, maybe I should change it up a little bit. But no, I chickened out. Didn't do it.
I want to just take, as we wind down, just want to take a minute to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving coming up this week.
Forgetting it's Thanksgiving.
And
so
and
fast.
to say, remember to give thanks and be thankful for what you have and the blessings you have in your life. And
We need some sound effects.
And to share that with others. So
That's great,
I hope
Chris.
everyone enjoys their holiday.
I felt that. Thank you.
The violins in the back.
That's great.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week. Like I said, we'll be discussing your rights and responsibilities here in what should be a free society, and how to take back our rights. Brian's on there giving a roar. Can't wait to see you next week, Brian. Guys, much love to you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for
Thanks for
listening.
listening.
Thank you.